Did this mean she didn't feel safe? I recently went out on a first date with this girl. I thought it was going really well. But during the date, some friends of hers randomly showed up. She excused herself to go say hi. But it didn't really feel random. It also coincidentally happened after she awkwardly brought up her ex. It felt planned that her friends showed up. But she came back after a few minutes and we spent another 45 minutes talking before we called the date over. Honestly, I just feel weird. I tried to make her feel safe and let her choose the location we went to. But just those two things back to back made me uneasy. Bring up the ex and then her friends showed up. Is it bad that her friends randomly showed up? Did she not feel safe? Did I do something wrong? It might have been a pre-planned thing. Maybe she told her friends beforehand to show up at whatever time, to give her a way to get out if she didn't feel safe. I'd say it's a good sign that she came back. But there's really no way to know for sure. It wasn't random. But it also wasn't you. It was probably a prearranged escape plan in case the date wasn't going well. The fact that she came back and stayed longer is good for you. If she called her friends to rescue her, she would have left with them. My 2 cents. It sounds like you're overthinking it. Honestly. If she truly didn't feel safe and was calling her friends for her, she likely wouldn't have sat back down and continued the date. Usually, the thing is to fake an emergency or event so they have to leave the date. And if it was a setup, her friends were likely just checking in and seeing that everything was okay. Sounds that if she's had some anxiety or a bad experience in her past, her friends have been giving her some courage points by promising to check in on her during a first date. Don't worry. They are on your side as well. They are being supportive. If she wasn't safe with you, she'd have gone at once. Eventually she'll be able to share the reason why. If she didn't feel safe, she would have left with the friends. So whether it was pre-planned or not is a moot point, really. I wasn't there, so I can't say for sure. But it sounds like a random coincidence that they showed up as she was talking about her ex. Maybe she told her friends you guys would be there. Maybe she didn't. If you guys agreed to a second date, then you're fine. Don't overthink it. I read one time there are a million things she could be thinking about. Why would it be negative things about you? I'll be honest, her coming back at all is a good sign. If her friend showed up, regardless of it's random or not, if she didn't feel safe, she wouldn't have came back. 1. I often run into friends when going on dates. Especially if the date is in a popular place. It can happen too. It seems that you think too much about her and the date. Slow down. This attitude has more chances to ruin everything than anything else. 3. If you can't stop thinking, ask her. You're two adults. No, she didn't know you yet. She came back. The date went okay. Most women don't feel safe on first dates. I saw a survey somewhere that asked, what is your biggest fear when dating? The top answer for men was rejection. For women it was death. She came back for another 45 minutes. This is not a you problem. Stop overthink this. Taking your comments into consideration, I really think it just wasn't working for her. And that's fine. That doesn't mean you did something wrong. Sometimes there just aren't romantic feelings there. Better she told you it wouldn't work out than leading you on. Being a woman, I totally agree with everyone else saying her friends were a rescue team in case anything went wrong. That also likely has nothing to do with you. It's become a lot more common. And was probably just to help her feel safe or escape if she needed to. When I was online dating, I had a couple of women who did something like that. And they told me directly that's why they were doing it. To reassure me that it wasn't personal. One woman showed up to the restaurant with her sister and sister's husband. Who immediately said hi and then walked away. Didn't get a second date, but that's fine. We weren't much of a match. Another woman who drove 3 hours to meet me in my city told me that she had promised to call her mother back home to check in at a predetermined time. She did. And I ended up marrying her, so it worked out. As a woman, usually something like this would be pre-planned to be an excuse if needed. She wouldn't have come back if she felt unsafe. Impossible to know for sure. But that's my take. I really think you're overthinking. Chill. Women never feel safe. What men often fail to understand is how much effort, thought and planning goes into our daily safety. We don't take shortcuts through alleys. Have our keys in our hand before we get to our front door. Have someone walk us to our car. And yes, we have friends check on us on dates. Just because it was a public place doesn't mean she felt completely safe to met a date. It's not you. 1. It had to be pre-planned and had nothing to do with you personally. It has to be about her life experience and issues. 2. She returned and spent more time with you. So she did feel safe. 3. Considering she stayed, you probably did nothing wrong. But also, how would we know? Maybe a friend check up to see how you were doing, or you both were doing. Or it was to see how you would react. Perhaps her ex was over-controlling. I'm guessing you lost points. If I have an out planned and then I don't take my out, I'm probably having fun. Don't overthink it. It went well. When I started dating mid-20s, my friends wanted to do this on any first date I had. I thought them just randomly showing up was a bit too weird for me, so we settled on me turning on my location and sending a text a set amount of time into the date. This is 100% a pre-planned thing that women do for safety. She came back and stayed longer, so I wouldn't worry about it or take it personally. Her and her friends would have done this for the first meet-up with anyone. It's likely just a way for her to leave if the date was going south. I wouldn't take it personally. Talking about an ex seems weird for a first date, but I guess it depends on the context. I think that you're overthrowing it, mate. It could have been a prearranged safety net. Like she asked her friends to just show up at some point to give her an out. But if that was the plan and she stayed anyway, that's a good sign. Also, bumping into people you know happens all the time. Suspicious coincidence aside, it's a normal thing. Talking about an ex isn't good form. But nobody is perfect. And lots of people have exes. It didn't sound like she really wanted to talk about it all that much anyway. Am I the only one who thinks it sounds like she told her friends about the date and they wanted to come by and see you check out the situation? Just to be nosy? That's what my friends do. I agree with others that it was probably pre-planned for the friend to show up in case she needed an escape. Reading all this stuff. Damn, dating just isn't worth it for anyone. Women constantly on guard that the next man they talk to is about to cave their skull in, and men always feeling vilified when they haven't even had a chance to say hi yet. I've been on that date. Then I left because she wasn't on the date with me. You analyzed this situation, so I'd say she probably did that to make sure she had an out. Didn't need the out. But your over-analyzing probably gave you weird vibes, and I can't say that wouldn't have killed the whole thing. It's giving. Why are you running away from me? I am a nice guy. Woman running, medium light skin tone, man running. Kinda vibes. It's possible it was actually random. Long ago, after I got divorced, I was set up on a blind date by a coworker. We went to a restaurant, and while we were talking, I recognized a voice behind me. Turned out my mom and sister were seated right behind us. Tears of joy. It was totally not planned, but I know he thought otherwise. Lol.